Hi everyone, this is a long tutorial on rebuilding confidence monitors and clocks. Please bear with me on this, that's a lot to cover. We're going to knock it out. But as of this week, we are changing some of our clock times, we're changing our flow, and so we need to adjust clocks and confidence monitors to boot. So I'm going to walk through everything from first we're going to take out all of our confidence monitors, and then we're going to take out all our clocks, and then we're going to put in clocks, and then we're going to put in confidence monitors, and finally we're going to rebuild the slides that triggered all of that. With me? Still with me? Great. Let's dive in. So this will be on CG1 if you're on at Fred or Spotsy or Culpeper. It will be at CG2 for King George, Richmond, and Stafford. But just so you guys know, we are trying to work through a system so that everyone can have a single CG running both live and confidence. We are working to that. Please bear with us as we try to make that work in our budgets. So just so everyone's aware, let's dive in. First of all, we need to go into ProPresenter and we need to wipe out our current confidence monitors. So I'm going to go to ProPresenter, Preferences, Stage Display, or Configure Stage Display, and I'm just going to delete all of these. So I highlight it and then I press, whoops, and I crash the program. Yay! Reopen, please. Preferences. You know what? Before we do that, we're going to not enable Stage Display. Now we're going to go do what we just did. It crashed because I had Stage Display on and then deleted the one that was live. You have to keep at least one. It's good to know. So we're going to rename this one to Worship Flow. Then we're going to reset it. There we go. That's what I want. Reset. We'll come back to the rest of this shortly. Now, let's go to clocks, which you can also Control C, or you can also view clocks and timers. And we're going to get rid of all of our old clocks. So we're going to select it, and we're going to press delete. Select, delete, select, delete, select, delete, select, delete, select, delete, select, delete. Add a clock. We want it to be a timer. Make sure it says countdown timer here. We're going to call it Worship Flow. We're going to add another clock. We're going to call this one Welcome. We're going to add another clock. This one's going to be called Service. We're going to add another clock. It's going to be called Message. I'm doing these slightly out of order because I just realized we're going to add another clock, and this one's going to be Meet and Greet. These are the 5 basic clocks you'll need. If you're at broadcast, you may also have a separate clock for pastor's worship moment, but we'll deal with that separately outside of this tutorial. So for the worship flow, you can go on Planning Center and you can look that up. This would have been 8 minutes and 18 seconds for this coming week. The welcome is going to be 3 minutes. The service, we're going to set to a runtime of 70 minutes, which will then change it to 1:10. The message, we already know, is 39 minutes and 23 seconds. And the meet and greet will be 30 seconds. Now, I already did a tutorial on how to do your meet and greet slide, so I'm not going to cover that here. You can refer to that tutorial if you have any questions on how to do that. So our clocks are now set. Let's go back into building our stage displays. So I try to do text only because what it'll do, it'll make the text as big as you make this number as long as it fits within this box. So we don't need the notes, we don't need a chord chart, we don't need a video countdown. This is an optional thing. We'll go cover this in a more advanced tutorial at a later date. But this is the worship flow clock. So we have our live clock, and we don't need this message here. So we need our current slide and our next slide. current slide. So I just clicked on some over here so you could kind of see what things look like. All right, so current slide, next slide. Text is a little small, especially if you're looking at it from a long way away. So let's go ahead and make it as big as we can. 200 is ginormous. It actually isn't even 200. It's just scaling to that. And then we're going to take our next slide, and just to make it easier for the worship team, we're going to change the color of the next slide so that they can easily glance what's current and what's coming up. That's the main reason why we're doing these changes. All right, now we've got our clock. This is the live time, so I'm going to make this bigger. And so quite honestly, we don't need to see if it's AM or PM, so we're going to take this clock and we're going to slide it past the boundary so that the only thing you actually see is the time. All right, now we're going to add our, and we're going to change that color to, I believe, yellow is what we had. And then we're going to add the service clock, and that one is a green clock. And then we're going to put that there, and we're going to click and drag it to size here. And finally, we want our worship flow clock. And we'll have this one in the top left corner like so. And we'll click and drag it like that. Okay, so that handles your worship flow stage display. Now, let's add a new one for your welcome. So, plus welcome. We don't need current slide notes, don't need notes, don't need charts, don't need that, don't need that, don't need that. Same thing we're going to do here. Stretch that out like that. Stretch that out like that. Make the text ginormous. And here. And clocks. We need service, which we'll make green. And the clock time we'll make yellow, and then the welcome time we will leave white. So I'm just playing with the size here for a second. You'll see why in a minute. Do this. Just so your campus pastor is very easily at a glance able to know where he's at on time. We'll go like that. All right. And then we don't need to make one for the meet and greet. Let's make one for the message. Message we're going to basically do just like the welcome.
Change that to yellow. Don't need that.
Add the service clock, which we will make green. And the message clock, which we will leave as white. So now let's sort everything around.
I forgot to change text size, didn't I? Yes, I did. No, I did not. Strange. Oops, I forgot to change the color of that one, though. There we go. Just had to refresh it. I apologize for the noise. They're doing some work outside.
And change that color to orange. Which, now that I think about it, I think I forgot to do in the welcome clock. Yes, I did. All right, looking good here. Now we're going to do our clocks.
Make it a little bit wider with those. Finally, just like that.
All right, so now our stage displays are set. Now let's go fix our triggers for them. So I think most of you guys saw an Oreo tutorial on how to create these. It's still valid, they're still cool, but we're gonna make some new ones because at some point we may jump back to these, although we'll have to remake them anyway because we deleted everything that existed for them. I digress. So new document, we're gonna call this worship flow. Template, use whatever is your main default depending on where you're at. You can also set this to fire on any slide, and I'll explain what I mean in a moment. Let me go ahead and set this up. So let me rename that properly. Clock fire worship flow. So on this slide, what we want to happen is we're going to add some cues. So what I did, I right-clicked on the slide, and we're going to add cue. And you're going to say stage display layout worship flow. And that will change the stage display. Then you're going to say timer cue, start the service clock, and start the stage display clock. Sorry, worship flow clock. I think I just, yeah. All right, now let me turn on stage display. Wrong button. Go me. Right. Stage display is enabled. So right now, this is the last stage display that I had set up. This is the message one because that's what I had live when I built it. So when I click on this slide, because we set that cue stage display and we set it to worship flow, it will change it to the worship stage display we set earlier. And so to demonstrate thusly, boom, just like that. And then we're going to do a new one, new document. Clock fire welcome, parentheses, 3, saying that it's the 3-minute. Contains invalid characters. Okay, what's the invalid character? Is it the parentheses? Nope, it is the colon, so 3 minutes. All right, so clock fire, welcome, 3 minutes. So same thing on this one, we're gonna right click, we're gonna change the cue, we're gonna say, we want you to change the stage display to the welcome stage display, and we want you to go ahead and fire our welcome clock. So what that's gonna do is you're gonna click on this, it will change it to that, the 3-minute, and then we'll go ahead and make one more. Or in this case, I'm going to edit the message one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to remove all the cues because they're all wrong. We're going to do new cues. Add a cue, stage display, message. Add a cue, timer cue, message. Boom, boom. You would do the same thing if you're have a CG2 or if you're running CG1 on both. It's just kind of a different, you would just be doing it direct. Sorry, the drilling outside is so distracting. You would do this regardless if you're on CG1 or 2, because if you're on CG2, it just makes it easier to press a button than to bounce clocks, and if you're on CG1, you really can't bounce around to other screens if you're running lyrics. One last thing I told you I'd mention is how to add these to an existing slide. And so in this case, at the end of the message, we're going to go back into changed to good. And so we don't need to fire clocks again, but we'll be coming out of the message into a song. And so we want to change this stage display back to the worship one just to make it easier. It's a little bit larger. It's a little easier for the band to see what's going on as far as lyrics go. So we're going to right click here and we're going to go add a queue, and we're just going to do the stage display layout to worship flow. And so now when you click on this, it's not going to fire any clocks. There are some that have already been fired that will be ticking. But when you click on this, it will change the stage display so it's easier for the band to jump back into the song. Hope that helps. Please let me know if you have any questions. Oh, one last note on this. When you are done with the service, you still have to manually reset your clocks. So you go in here, you open up your clocks, or you go over here and you open up your clocks, or you know the shortcut key and you open up your clocks, and you just click reset all, and you are now good for the next service. In fact, while I'm saying that, I'm just going to really quickly demonstrate. Okay, so that one we don't need, 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 that one I'm going to leave because we use it for something else. And so we're going to say we need the message, the welcome, and the worship flow clocks. Oh, that one we don't need, sorry. Just trying to keep things from getting confusing for the teams here. So I've got the 3 I need. I'm going to drag them down here to this week. Okay, so worship flow, that one starts at the very beginning of service. So that's set there. 3-minute welcome, that's going to happen right at the welcome. The message, that's going to happen at the message. Let me know if you have any questions. Again, this is just something that we're trying to do to help make life easier for everybody. You can put it to the right spot, and then if you click on it, swaps and fires. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Hopefully this helps. Yeah, have a great week. Video out.